Looking at Article 3 of the Constitution, and it's about the judicial branch. And it's very, very short. It's only 3 sections long. Um, the Founding Fathers felt this was the branch that we needed to worry about the least. Congress has the power of the purse, which means Congress is in charge of the money. So they're very powerful, and that nothing gets done in government if Congress doesn't want it to, because they're the ones that fund all the programs. The president is the commander in chief, so he has access to the military. And so the judicial branch is the least significant, the least dangerous, the one we really don't have to worry about because they don't have any money and they really don't have access to an army. So, and if they rule on a case that the president goes against, the president is responsible for enforcing laws. The president doesn't have to enforce it. And that was some of the arguments why when we start looking specifically at stuff inside Article 3, that they thought, don't worry about this branch of government. It's really the least of them. So it talks about the judicial power, the power to rule on cases, and the power to interpret what the laws mean is given to one Supreme Court. So the only court that's created in the Constitution is the Supreme Court. Then it goes on to give Congress the power to create any inferior court. So this is a check on the judicial branch, Congress's ability to create all the lower courts. Goes on to say that they will hold their office during good behavior, which means they serve for life. So as long as they don't violate any laws or do anything wrong that would allow Congress or the House of Representatives to impeach them, they serve for life. This is really, really important because they don't have to worry about being reelected. The president gets to pick members of the court, and the Senate has to confirm them. So they're really not concerned about being reelected. What this gives them is the power to protect the minority. And so in our democracy or in our republic, we elect officials who vote, and it's a majority rule system. But at the end of all of that, we have the court who gets to determine whether these things are violating the rights of the minority. So by allowing judges to serve for life and not have to go through an election, they don't have to worry about upsetting the majority of people. So they can rule on controversial issues, whether it's throughout history, slavery issues, civil rights issues, anything like that. They don't have to worry about being reelected. So they really are that group that protects the rights of the minority against mob rule and against a majority. So they serve for life. Section 2 talks about the types of cases that they can hear, and it talks about the types of jurisdiction. And jurisdiction just means the ability to hear a case. And so most cases do not go directly to the Supreme Court. They start at a lower level, a federal district court, and there are 94 federal district courts that have what is called original jurisdiction. And these are the court cases that you're used to seeing on television, where they do the whole entire trial, and they have a jury typically. And so original jurisdiction just means this case is being heard for the very first time. And so there are very, very, very few types of cases that the Supreme Court can hear firsthand. Most of the cases get to the Supreme Court on what's called their appellate jurisdiction and appeal. If you don't like the district court's ruling, you can appeal that and take it up to the United States Court of Appeals, which is also known as the circuit courts. And then if you don't like the ruling there, then you can ask the Supreme Court to hear your case, and they get to decide whether they want to hear that case or not. I want to point out this right here. We know when we see that, we know that there's been an amendment to the Constitution. And the 11th Amendment, you need to point out and know that the 11th Amendment changes this, and it says that a person from one state cannot sue another state in federal court. This is because of the idea of federalism. We don't want the federal government imposing its will on the states, and so we are going to make sure that a person from one state cannot sue a state. Now, you can sue another person from another state, but you cannot sue the state itself. On down here, still some more stuff on the types of court cases it can and cannot hear. Right here, the trial of all crimes except in cases of impeachment, that's going to be done in the Senate, shall be by jury. So right here, you are entitled to a jury trial. And it has to be held where the crime has been committed. And we know that there are amendments that just kind of put an exclamation point on these rights. So a trial by jury where the crime is committed is in the Constitution. Once again, we have the extra added benefit or protection in the Bill of Rights. Down here, Section 3, treason. This is the only crime that is defined in the Constitution, and it consists of levying war against the United States, adhering to their enemies, and giving your enemy aid and comfort. And then it goes on to even say what you need in order to convict someone of treason. You have to have the testimony of 2 witnesses or that person confessing in open court for it to be treason. Congress has the power to declare the punishment of treason, and you can put someone to death for treason. I don't believe, and from my readings, no one has ever been put to death for treason. And then this last sentence is kind of interesting. It says, "But no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood." And basically all that means is that if you commit treason, or whoever commits treason, you are the only one that can be punished. You cannot punish your family or your relations for the act that you committed. And then, or forfeiture except during the life of the person attained. So we cannot, our worst punishment we can have is death for the person who committed treason, and we can't punish their family.